Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Okay, could Netflix ever compete with Spotify? Could they control audio the way that Spotify currently has a grapple hold on audio? This is a new series we're doing on this channel called Weird Business Ideas or Weird Business Concepts. That's what I'm going to make the playlist called. And if you have any comments for weird business ideas, like what if Google goes into pizza delivery? I don't know. Let's talk about it. I mean, if you have any good comments, I'll check them out and I'll see if I can create some type of narrative around what that could look like. But this was a thought I had the other day, and I was like, this would be really interesting to just throw out there, see what people think, see what people think of the comments, see how the discussion goes, and see if there's any merit to this idea I have. Because I get a bunch of these ideas, and sometimes I write Twitter threads about them, and sometimes I just want to talk about them and put them out there into the world and see what other people are thinking. Because I know a lot of people watching this are weird business, stocks, investing, startup people. And we might be vibing on some of these crazy ideas that I have in my head. So if you do have a similar idea, please put it in the comments and maybe we'll turn it into a future video and we'll talk about it. So Netflix, audio, Spotify. I want to start this off by saying I think that Spotify has a control on audio that is really, really interesting to think about. The reason it's interesting to think about is because Spotify shouldn't be as big as it is. Like when you really break it down, what does Spotify sell? It's music. And if you know anything about the music business is a horrible business. It is a horrible, horrible business. The only people that really benefit from the music business are record labels. The artists don't benefit for it because most of them don't own the rights to their music, because that's kind of the name of the game. You gotta give up all your rights in order to even get into the industry. Now things are changing. TikTok's doing a great job of giving artists some independent voices. They're United Masters. That's a really good company helping artists control their masters. But it's really hard. And masters are your publishing rights. So it's like when you release a song, the masters of that song are your intellectual property for that song. And if a record label owns it, they can license it. And music is very easy to license, right? Because if you have a good song, TV shows want to use it, commercials want to use it, people want to use it, other artists want to sample it. So it's a very lucrative business for the people that own the masters. But in terms of the actual selling of the music, it's not that lucrative. CDs on average used to sell for about $12-13 back in the early 2000s. I was buying CDs in around 2007, 2008, 2009. And then Spotify came around in 2012 and started getting everything to switch to streaming. And now Spotify pays you about 0.0031 or 0.00437 cents per stream, which means you have to have a lot of streams to even make, a couple $100 on your music. Now, the reason I think Spotify shouldn't be as big as it is because all they're doing is selling music, and music is a commodity. YouTube Music has music, Apple has music, Amazon has music, Deezer has music. I mean, a bunch of these different apps have music, right? Because music just gets licensed by the record labels. They get all the profits from the streams, right? Spotify doesn't even keep a lot of that streaming money, whether it's through ads or that $10 subscription that they sell. So a lot of this stuff is revenue sharing with record labels that have all of the leverage, because if the record label doesn't want Justin Bieber to be on Spotify, they just pull the catalog from Spotify. Like Spotify has zero control over that. Now, does Spotify have a big audience that's going to give Justin Bieber a lot of streams? Sure. But Justin Bieber will probably get his streams on Apple Music or YouTube Music, right? Like it's not, I don't think Spotify has the biggest leveraging here. So the reason I say they shouldn't be as big as they are is because at the end of the day, if they only sell music, users have the opportunity to get music from anywhere. In fact, YouTube Premium, which is something that I pay for, is such a phenomenal product because you get YouTube without any distractions, any ads, and you get a free background play. Right? So if I turn off my phone, YouTube will still keep playing. And that's a really, really awesome feature because it's like, I want to listen to YouTube. I probably want to listen to a bunch of talks and things or whatever. On the background, I don't want to have my phone open. And in addition to that, you get YouTube Music, right? So you get all of the world's music, you get all these videos ad free, and you get to play all these videos in the background when you want to just turn your phone off or when you want to go multitask. And it's for like $12 a month. Spotify is around $10 a month, $10.50 a month, and you only get music. So why is Spotify as big as it is? Because rationally, everyone should probably pay for YouTube Premium because you get an amazing experience on YouTube. You get all the world's content in the palm of your hands because that's how big YouTube is, and you get YouTube Music. Like there's really not a unique reason to go for Spotify. So the reason Spotify ends up getting as big as it does is because of their user experience. Like if people didn't like listening to music on Spotify, if people didn't like the algorithmic recommendation, the playlist, just the very like way you scroll on the screen, they wouldn't keep using Spotify. My point here is that it seems to be that the only thing that Spotify really has it going for them, and I say only in a light way, obviously they have a lot of stuff going for them, But it's this user experience over music, right? This ability to show people music or to display music in an interesting way that other companies haven't been able to find. There's this like magic touch. There's a lot of TikTok competitors, but outside of TikTok's network effect and all their users that they have, there's something a little bit more magical. I mean, like, yeah, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Like, I mean, those are kind of okay, but like people to get vertical video, they go to TikTok. That's where you want to go, right? So there's a particular user experience that exists on Spotify with music that doesn't exist anywhere else. What if that could be disrupted if the artists that were putting their content on Spotify got a bag? You're not going to beat Spotify just by getting music, right? Like, because the user experience of Spotify is such a big thing. That's why people are irrationally paying $10 to Spotify over $12 to YouTube, when you get more for YouTube for only $2 more, but people want to stay on Spotify, right? Because it has their listening history, it has the algorithms. Like, Spotify has that UX down and that UI down. So the only way to get people to leave is to get artists on a different platform. Like, the only way to get people to leave from Spotify to like the new Spotify is if Justin Bieber goes to Spotify, right? Instantly, millions and millions of people would probably go to that new platform. They might keep Spotify, but they're going to use that platform because if you're a Justin Bieber fan, you need your Justin Bieber music. Here's where I think Netflix can beat Spotify. If Netflix ultimately becomes a record label, right? Or sorry, not a record label, but like in the role of a record label, right? So if Netflix becomes this like pseudo record label where they're giving hundreds of millions of dollars, which they can afford to do, they spent $20 billion last year just on streaming content, to artists. And the business model is set up insofar as maybe they add $1 to their subscription, or they don't even add $1 to their subscription. They just keep the same price, but they just get more people with Netflix Music. Open up a Netflix Music app. The user experience is not going to be as good as Spotify, right? Because we talked about that. Spotify has the control there. But they pay artists to go exclusive on Netflix Music. So here's how I'm thinking about this. Let's say Netflix gets 100 new artists and they get them exclusively onto Netflix Music, and they give them like these $5 million deals for 2 albums. So for 2 albums, you get $5 million and we'll give you $2.5 million per album. And so like what, that's 100 artists times 5 million, that's $500 million. That's really not that much to Netflix, to be honest. I mean, I think they paid like The Office to license their show for $500 million or something. So like Netflix has the capital to do that. Spotify does not have the capital to do that as easily, right? Because Spotify actually has to like negotiate with record labels. There's a lot more complications there. And I think even in their contracts with the record labels that they started forming back in 2015, they had these like do not compete clauses where it was like you can't sign people directly because then that undermines the record label business. So Spotify has all of these fiduciary commitments, these financial requirements to look after the stakeholders of the company. And by the way, Universal Music Group even owns 4% of Spotify. So like they're really tight. They're in bed with the music industry and the record labels, the legacy record labels, and it's going to be hard for them to get out of it. Netflix doesn't have to worry about any of that. Netflix gets 100 artists, give them $5 million each, paid $500 million. Now the content has to be good, the music has to be good, and that's where Netflix's talent team just has to scout the best artists. But let's say those artists blow up on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, and when you go to stream their music, they're not on Spotify or Apple. In fact, they're not anywhere. They're on Netflix Music. I mean, where are you going to go? You're going to go to Netflix Music. Now, most people, not most people, but a lot of people in America at least have Netflix. So if Netflix would easily add a tab to the Netflix app that says music, or just create another app, right? And then you click it and boom, you're in Netflix Music. Then you instantly have access to that music. You instantly have access to that content. And then there just has to be a decent experience with like scrolling through and finding that content and enjoying that content on the platform. The kicker here is that those artists now have more money than they could have ever gotten from Spotify, and Netflix has created a premium model in which audio is proprietary to them. The problem with Spotify is the problem with any other user-generated content platform, where people have to upload content and then Spotify's algorithms have to do a good job to figure out if this content is good or not. Because YouTube's amazing, but there's a lot of crap on YouTube, right? And YouTube spends a lot of money to make sure their algorithms recommend to you, the person who's watching this, something that you're actually interested in clicking on. That's what gives the value of YouTube. The problem with Spotify is they have all this music coming in. They have to make sure it's good enough to put into your recommendations. And the other problem on that is they have to negotiate with record labels. So like when the Drake album comes out, your stuff, if you're an independent artist, is never getting on the home feed. I mean, good luck. The Drake album comes out, the Drake stuff's coming on the home feed, right? So it's just, there's a weird relationship they have with these record labels because they got to guarantee them the streams, or the record labels are just going to take away the content. So it's very difficult for this relationship to prosper. Netflix doesn't have this relationship with movies and TV and streaming, right? They either license the content, they buy the content, or they make their own content. And it's a really good model because they never have to worry about advertisers. They just have to worry about getting more and more people to pay those $12 a month. With music, what if they could be the same thing? What if instead of having to deal with record labels, instead of having to deal with all these royalties and all this stuff, you give someone a couple $1,000,000 for an album, right? And on Spotify, they're getting 0.00031 cents per stream. You would have to get like billions of streams just to be able to make up that money, or at least hundreds of millions of streams. But you go exclusive to Netflix. So the trade-off for the artist is, instead of having the creative freedom to be anywhere and everywhere where anyone can find you, you're locked into one place. But the beauty of being locked into one place is that you got money, right? So instead of, if a YouTuber, like Mr. Beast, right, one of the biggest YouTubers, he probably wants to be on YouTube because he wants to reach as many people as possible. But if Netflix came up to him and would say, hey, we're going to triple what you get in YouTube ad revenue, but you have to be exclusive to Netflix, then Mr. Beast gets all the money, which is a big deal. And then he just has to reconcile, do I really want to just reach more and more people, or do I want to get this money and still have access to a massive audience? Because Netflix has like 200 million subscribers worldwide. Mr. Beast has 84 million subscribers on his one YouTube channel. So like, there is a world in which the trade-off makes sense financially and from an attention standpoint, because you get access to more people. So Netflix would create a premium audio service in which musicians would get paid up front. They'd never have to worry about streaming royalties, and Netflix collects all the subscription revenue and it goes straight to them, and they don't have to share it with a record label. Part of the reason Spotify's business model sucks is because they have to give half of their subscription model, or 90% of their subscription, whatever it is, to record labels, which sucks, right? Because you're getting people to use your platform, they like it, but the content is so premium because it's music that they have to pay it to the record labels. Now, the only problem here is that what if you like Netflix would own the masters to this music, right? So like the artist wouldn't own their own masters, because like they could own their own masters, but it kind of wouldn't make sense, because if they owned their own masters, then they could take the music whenever they want, and Netflix wouldn't have proprietary control over it. So like from a creative perspective, someone would say, well, if the artist doesn't own their masters, then what makes this different from like a greedy record label that just soaks up all the music, soaks up all the ownership, and then screws over the artist at the end? And I would say the one difference here is that the artist gets paid. Right, that's the big thing here. Like if the artist were to get $1 million or even $500,000, that's more money than they're seeing from a lot of angles. They're not getting that on tour, especially if they're not big. They're not getting that in merch, and they're definitely not getting that in streams unless they get really big. And even if they get really big, to make $500,000 off streams, it's hard, right? We're talking about hundreds of millions of streams. So if Netflix is able to just give them cash up front, most artists would never get that from their masters. So at that point, it's a better deal to take the cash. And on top of that, Netflix could probably work out some royalty deal in which, like, every time Netflix licenses out the music, the artist would get a small percentage of that, which is still better than nothing because they got the cash up front. And that cash up front, if that artist just invested into the S&P 500, would grow 8-9% year over year, versus hoping to God they get 1 million streams from a Spotify algorithm recommending them, which is likely not going to happen, especially not when the Drake, Madonna, Justin Bieber, and new Beyonce album come out. So to recap, Spotify's business model sucks because they have to share with the record labels. They barely pay anything per stream, and their user experience is the only thing that really keeps them relevant, because at the end of the day, they're selling music and anyone can sell music. Netflix would create premium audio by getting all these people in one place. They would charge a subscription. They would keep 100% of the subscription. They would pay for the music in perpetuity. And now they have this eternal music catalog that they can use forever. And additionally, they can license all of that, or they don't have to license. They can use all that music in every new original show that they create, because hopefully the music is going to be good, because that's the whole point of giving people the money for the music in the first place. And then they never have to negotiate with record labels, because all these hit songs they're going to be making out of their marketing machine off Netflix music, and then they're going to be using in the shows that already have access to people. And then people listening to the music are going to be like, where did that song come from? They're going to search it. They're going to be like, oh, this artist is on Netflix music. They're going to listen to it on Netflix music, and they're going to be more accustomed to Netflix music. And it's this instant flywheel effect where the Netflix music is incorporated into the Netflix show. Netflix owns the IP of both of those things, and Netflix has paid the creators for giving up their IP because they got a lot of money in order to be able to do that. And Netflix potentially has a chance of getting more and more people to listen to music on their platform as long as they get more and more premium music, and potentially beat Spotify. Now, the way this definitely fails is if Netflix can't convince the big names to come to the platform. This would only work if you have like a 20-30 year horizon when Justin Bieber is not relevant anymore and you have the next Justin Bieber on Netflix, right? Because right now Justin Bieber is relevant, and if you can never get Justin Bieber's music, then it's going to be really hard. 30 years from now, people will not be streaming Justin Bieber as much as they're streaming him right now, right? So that becomes the problem, because in the current day, how do you get artists that people actually want to listen to? That becomes a question to me about Netflix finding the best talent and then turning them into rock stars and superstars. But if they could do that, and they can get them exclusively in one place, you're going to drive traffic to that one place. It's inevitable. That's the nature of being exclusive. The question is, can you do that? And in music, it's obviously hard. But if those artists get paid, if Netflix has that flywheel effect with their music and Netflix gets to collect all the subscription revenue and never have to pay any of the record labels, then there is a world in which Netflix music could be a big thing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is a new series that I'm trying about weird business ideas and just poking around my ideas out there, seeing what you guys think. Would love to know your comments. Would love to know how you guys interpret this idea. And yeah, looking forward to reading them. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.